"I'm Kelly," said the imposter. "You're beautiful," said Kelly. Doppler House is a story I've worked on for the past 2 years and has gone through a lot of change. One thing that holds true in the story is that it's a personal journey of growth and existence. Page 47, that life of never being blind to the circumstance but blind to the optimism commanding your mind is hell. It's a story about many things, but at its core, it's a doppelganger love story. I remember a loose thread of stories, whether it be Twilight Zone with a jealous robot, or The Thing with, a monster with suspiciously good timing, portraying doppelgangers or others or skinwalkers as these horrible monstrosities. And as I've written Doppler House, the idea of doppelgangers has grown popularity. Take, for instance, Mandela Catalog, or just the creepypasta-esque narrative that skinwalkers have kind of adopted. Concept of seeing a person and knowing that they're not a person is a scary thought in general. So Doppler House, in turn, reverses the narrative of this horrid creature and asks the question, what if they were better than the original? Could you handle knowing that this person, even if they were better, wasn't the real person? Morally, if you were questioned, would you defend this being, this entity, as being the original one? Page 35. Connor knew what this was, the same fear from earlier rushing to the forefront of his mind, remembering the creature on the side of his truck. He had to take a moment to recover. That was the same being that now stood in front of him with a fresh tray of muffins, ready to eat. What came from these questions were a small blanket of ideas and themes like obsession versus love, weakness in strength, and trauma response variation. All practically ripped from my own life. I mean, I am a writer after all. But there came a point when this idea wasn't enough to tell the story I wanted to. Enter one detective, Benny Torres, an old friend of Connor and Kelly, and the only real person hunting and trying to eliminate Dopplers. That's what I call doppelgangers in this story. Dopplers, Doppler House, you get it. Page 19, her gaze was like that of a scalpel, constantly peeling back whatever layers she was faced with. 2 unwavering emerald plates of dissection. She looked to the floor. Fresh scuff marks led to the back doors behind the counter. Benny motioned to the doors to one of the workers. A light nod was all they could muster before 2 streams of tears lined down their strained face. Benny quickly became the hero and villain of the story. Therefore, talking about her is terrifying because I want to avoid spoilers. And I know the quotes I've used thus far might seem revealing, might seem like you know what's going on. You don't. You know the setup. The deepest of the quotes I use is the end of chapter 3 of the 13-chapter book. So go ahead, sit there, think you know what's going on, because you really don't. Doppler House, as described by one of my beta readers, is a graphic thriller with brushes of painful romance. Quite bad at pitching the idea myself, so hopefully I've painted a pretty good picture. As 3/26/24, final preparations are being made as far as publishing, cover art, inside jacket, that kind of stuff. And as I gather those elements, I will be announcing them on my various platforms. You can follow me down below. Click the link tree, and that is exactly where you need to be to find all of my different socials and stay up to date with everything that I have going on. April is going to be a huge push for a fan base, for a following, for more people to get behind the story, and for when it eventually comes out, you guys will have someone to talk to about it. But I want to leave you with a bit more, so here is my favorite passage from chapter 1. Kelly's mouth dropped and stretched beyond any normal length, wrapping around the original's head. The teeth Kelly had just grown continued to grow and pierce the skull of the original. Kelly's eyes flashed through every color as her hair shortened and lengthened in groups around her head, sporadically changing color and texture. The bite of Kelly sent blood straight up and all around the pair. The snow was carved out by the steaming red liquid. The original skull was now clean flat across, right above the lip. As Kelly swallowed the large chunk, her body expanded around the mass, moving down into her stomach. She dropped the original to the ground with a heavy thud. Fingers pierced through her neck and gripped around the esophagus like a handle. She stared at the window to Laura's room as she made her way to the house, dragging the body behind her. It smoothed out the tracks left behind, leaving a heavy curve in the ice. Kelly opened the door to her home and shortened her arm to a normal length. The storm was long from over as it kicked up once again. The blood and tracks Kelly had made were covered as if nothing had ever happened. Goodbye.